This video is dedicated to Jessica Bezjan, a 23-year-old Armenian Lebanese nurse who lost her life yesterday, August 4th, in Beirut, Lebanon. I myself have family in Beirut, living there through this situation right now. My mother was also born in Beirut. My grandmother was born in Beirut. Like many Armenians, my great-grandparents who survived the Armenian Genocide resettled in Beirut and started a new life there. Beirut is the capital of Lebanon, a city with a population of approximately 2.4 million people. Lebanon as a whole has a population of approximately 6.8 million people, meaning that Beirut counts for nearly 35% of the entire population of the country. Considering Beirut is also the financial center of Lebanon, Beirut's importance to the well-being of the nation cannot be understated. Beirut is a very beautiful city, thanks in part to its location on the eastern Mediterranean Sea. The port of Beirut is the main water port in Lebanon. Near the port of Beirut is the Beirut Central District. The Beirut Central District is one of the major economic centers of the city and is considered by many as the financial and economic center of Lebanon itself. So with this in mind, let's take a look at where the explosions took place on August 4th, 2020. The explosions happened right in between the Beirut Central District and the port of Beirut. In other words, the devastating explosion took place right between arguably the two most economically important locations in all of Lebanon. And considering that Lebanon is already in financially difficult times, this really exasperates the situation. At the time I'm recording this video, it is Wednesday, August 5th, exactly one day after the explosions took place. Now, there's a lot of conflicting information that's been going around, and it can be challenging to figure out exactly what's true and what isn't. Some people are saying this was an accident, others are saying this was an attack, some are even suggesting this was a nuclear attack. My intention with this video is not to speculate about things, nor is this video intended to be political. I simply wanted to make a video that shares with you just the facts about what we know has happened thus far. Before I get into that though, I do want to share some good news with you. As mentioned, I do have family in Beirut, and thankfully none of them have been killed or injured in this horrific incident. Of course, as we know, not everyone has been so fortunate. At the time of this recording on August 5th, 2020, there are at least 100 people killed in this incident, and there are over 4,000 others injured. So this has been a really tragic circumstance. In the Armenian community in particular, as mentioned, Jessica Bezjan, 23-year-old nurse, has passed away, as well as Nazar Najarian, an influential Lebanese Armenian politician. How did this happen? Let's get into it. As mentioned, the explosions took place between the Beirut Central District and the port of Beirut. According to multiple news outlets from around the world, approximately 2,700 tons of ammonium nitrate exploded after lying unsecured in a warehouse for 6 years. This seems to match reports that a ship carrying a similar quantity of ammonium nitrate had docked in Beirut in 2013 and was left entirely without its crew in 2014. The ship carrying the ammonium nitrate had been sailing from Georgia to Mozambique, East Africa, with ammonium nitrate in 2013 when it had technical difficulties that forced it to dock in Beirut. To get into more specific detail, shipping records indicate that this vessel carrying the ammonium nitrate began its journey at the Black Sea port of Batumi in Georgia on September 23, 2013. Again, the intended destination for this cargo was Mozambique, but the ship only made it as far as Beirut, where it was impounded on November 21, 2013. According to a prominent Lebanese law firm, upon inspection of the vessel by Port State Control, the vessel was forbidden from sailing. Most of the crew, except for the ship's captain and 4 crew members, were repatriated, and shortly afterwards the vessel was abandoned by its owners. The ship's captain and the 4 crew members left on board, all of whom were Ukrainian citizens, were forced to remain on board the vessel for almost an entire year in order to keep the ship and its volatile cargo afloat. According to the ship's captain, Boris Prokoshev, the owner of the vessel, a man named Igor Grushevskin, actually abandoned the ship and the remaining crew. In a June 2014 statement to a Ukrainian legal aid organization, Boris states the following, quote, "He says that he went bankrupt. I don't believe him, but that doesn't matter. The fact is that he abandoned the ship and the crew just like he abandoned his cargo, the ammonium nitrate, which is on the ship." End quote. Finally, almost exactly a year after the ship was first detained, a Lebanese judge allowed the seamen to leave the ship and return home. Emphasis was placed on the imminent danger the crew was facing given the dangerous nature of the cargo still stored in the ship's holds, reads the account by Barudi and Associates, who said they took on the sailor's case on compassionate grounds. The lawyer's note, published in a shipping industry journal called the Arrest News, which tracks ships that have been impounded, ends on an ominous note. Quote, Owing to the risks associated with retaining the ammonium nitrate on board the vessel, the port authorities discharged the cargo onto the port's warehouses. The vessel and cargo remain to date in port awaiting auctioning and/or proper disposal." End quote. All these years later, the same cargo was still located at Hangar 12 at Beirut's port. Lebanon's Supreme Defense Council, which met following the blast on August 4, 2020, said the explosion appeared to have occurred during welding work at Hangar 12. At the time of this recording on August 5, 2020, the explosion has not only killed over 100 people and injured 4,000 others, but it's also left upwards of 300,000 people homeless. What exactly caused the ammonium nitrate to explode is not yet known. Ammonium nitrate is predominantly used in agriculture as a high nitrogen fertilizer. It's relatively stable under most conditions and is inexpensive to manufacture, making the chemical a popular alternative to other, more expensive nitrogen sources. It is also a key industrial explosive used in mining and civil construction, accounting for nearly 80% of all the industrial explosions used in the United States, for example. By itself, ammonium nitrate is not regarded as particularly volatile or dangerous, but under certain circumstances, it can be deadly. Most countries have regulations controlling its storage to make sure it is safe. Particular sets of circumstances are needed to turn ammonium nitrate from a stable compound into an explosive without any fuel or external catalyst. It is classified as an energetic material, one that produces heat as it decomposes, similar to the way heat is generated by rotting material in a compost heap. If there is a sufficient quantity of ammonium nitrate, it can generate enough heat to catch fire and keep the fire going without the need for an external catalyst such as a flame. In other words, ammonium nitrate does not necessarily need to be detonated deliberately in order to become deadly. Now again, this does not prove what happened in Beirut was an accident. It doesn't prove that it wasn't an accident. I'm just stating the fact that ammonium nitrate can potentially become deadly without deliberately being detonated. A tragic accident of this magnitude has actually happened before. In 1947, at the port of Texas City, Texas, 2,300 tons of ammonium nitrate exploded, killing over 500 people and causing nearly a 15-foot tidal wave. With regards to Lebanon, the massive explosion in Beirut triggered a 3.5 magnitude earthquake, according to Germany's Geosciences Center. Other sources indicate it was a 3.3 magnitude earthquake. To be precise, there were actually 2 explosions which took place in close succession on August 4th in Beirut. The second explosion, which was the much more deadly one, the one that we're all familiar with, that explosion took place at 6:08 p.m. local time in Beirut. This second explosion blew out the glass from the balconies and windows of buildings several miles away from the port, and at least one building collapsed from the force of the blast. One resident says the streets looked like they were cobbled in glass. Videos posted online showed a shockwave erupting from the second explosion, knocking people down and enveloping much of the city center in a cloud of dust and smoke. Cars were overturned, and streets were blocked by debris, forcing many injured people to walk to the hospitals. The hospitals themselves, which were already strained from the pandemic, were now overflowing with people injured at this explosion, so this has become a really big strain on Lebanon's healthcare system. Local media showed people trapped beneath rubble. A witness described the explosion as deafening, and footage showed wrecked cars and blast-damaged buildings everywhere. The following comes from an eyewitness of the explosion. Quote, "I saw the fire, but I didn't yet know there was going to be an explosion. We went inside. Suddenly, I lost my hearing because apparently I was too close. I lost my hearing for a few seconds. I knew something was wrong. And then suddenly the glass just shattered all over the cars around us, the shops, the stores, the buildings, just glass going down from all over the building. Literally all over Beirut, people were calling each other from different areas kilometers away, and they were experiencing the same thing. Broken glass, buildings shaking, and a loud explosion. Actually, we were shocked because usually when it happens, just one area will experience those happenings after an explosion, but this time it was all of Beirut, even areas outside of Beirut." End quote. Flames continued to rise from the rubble well after the explosions, and a cloud of smoke tinted the sky an orange-pink color. As a result, there was confusion amongst residents whether the air had become dangerous to breathe. The U.S. Embassy in Beirut released a statement advising people to wear masks and stay indoors, following reports of toxic gases released in the explosion. Many people's windows were shattered by the blast, making it difficult to avoid breathing the air outside. The American University of Beirut's aerosol research lab's indicators showed air quality levels had returned to, quote, good by 7 p.m. Lebanon's Prime Minister Hassan Diab declared a national day of mourning for the victims of the explosion. The warehouse that authorities claim was the site of the blast had been subject to warnings going back to 2014, as mentioned earlier. Prime Minister Hassan Diab said he would reveal facts about the warehouse soon, but did not want to preempt an investigation. In a statement read live on television, President Michel Aoun announced he will release 100 billion Lebanese pounds, approximately the equivalent of $66 million in emergency allocations from the 2020 budget. Lebanon's economy minister said the wheat in Beirut's port granaries cannot be used, and that the ministry lost track of 7 employees in the granaries. The minister also told local media that Lebanon will import wheat and added that the country certainly had enough wheat until imports resume. Throughout Beirut, homes, businesses, and community centers have been heavily damaged, including in the municipality of Burj Hamud, where some of my family is from. Burj Hamud is a municipality in Beirut that is predominantly populated by Armenians who, again, are mostly descendants from survivors of the Armenian Genocide who resettled in Lebanon. I'm mentioning this for a few reasons, one of them being that Beirut is truly a very multicultural city with people from all walks of life, and so this explosion really is having a ripple effect for people from all over the world. Rescue teams are currently searching through debris in several neighborhoods for missing people, while hospitals, as mentioned earlier, are overwhelmed with dealing with thousands of injured people. Security forces have sealed off a wide area around the blast site, and rescuers have been looking for bodies and survivors underneath the rubble, while boats search the waters off the coast. However, the overnight rescue effort was hampered by a lack of electricity. Public Health Minister Hamad Hassan said Lebanon's health sector was short of beds and lacked the equipment necessary to treat the injured and care for patients in critical condition. He said that a large number of children had been rescued, but added that he feared the number of dead would rise further. The St. George's Hospital near the site of the explosion was badly damaged, and several members of the staff were killed. 3 Beirut hospitals were closed, with 2 others only partially operational. 3 French planes are due to arrive carrying 55 rescuers, medical equipment, and a mobile clinic equipped to treat 500 people. French President Emmanuel Macron will visit on Thursday. The EU is sending 100 firefighters with vehicles, dogs, and equipment. Russia is sending 5 planes carrying rescuers, doctors, and equipment. Many other countries have also offered to send help to Lebanon. The president of Armenia, Ottoman Sarkisian, no relation, and Adam I, head of the Armenian Apostolic Church in Lebanon, had a phone conversation where President Sarkisian expressed support to the Lebanese Armenian community. Quote, "The president expressed conviction that the Lebanese Armenians, who have passed through and have overcome numerous challenges, together with the entire brotherly people of Lebanon, will be able to overcome this difficult challenge as well." End quote. The explosion comes at a sensitive time for Lebanon. There is already an economic crisis the country is dealing with. The country is also facing the coronavirus lockdown situation, and tensions are high ahead of a verdict in a trial over the killing of ex-Prime Minister Rafik Hariri in 2005, which was supposed to happen on Friday, August 7th. Since the explosion, however, the Special Tribunal for Lebanon said it would postpone its verdict in the trial over the 2005 bombing that killed former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik Hariri to August 18th. As mentioned, the verdict of the trial of the 4 men who stand accused was originally scheduled for this Friday. With all this terrible news coming out of Lebanon, people from Beirut and throughout Lebanon have rallied together to help each other. Using the hashtag #OurHomesAreOpen in Arabic and English, social media users have freely opened up spare beds and emptied properties to victims, providing their names, phone numbers, and details on the size and location of the accommodation. The people of Lebanon are very strong and will get through these difficult times. For those of us who are fortunate enough not to be facing such difficult circumstances, at the very least we can pay attention to what is happening in Lebanon. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.